Millions of bags are checked in every single day, and the vast majority of them arrive exactly where they should. But some of them do not. A bag comes out on the wrong carousel. A bag never arrives at all. A bag shows up 3 days later with no explanation.
Wow.
Or in some cases, a bag simply vanishes, and the passenger never sees it again. So where does it actually go? Most people assume lost luggage is just a logistics mistake. A scan that was missed, a belt that jammed, a human error somewhere in the process. And sometimes that is exactly what it is. But the full story of what happens to a lost bag from the moment it goes missing to its final destination is far more complex than most passengers ever realize. This is what actually happens behind the scenes. The first thing to understand is that truly lost luggage is far rarer than people think. Airlines handle roughly 5 billion checked bags every single year, and the percentage that goes permanently missing is less than 1%. The system works at a level of precision most industries would consider impossible. But when something does go wrong, a very specific chain of events is set into motion, and most passengers never see any of it. Stage 1 is what the industry calls a mishandled bag. This is not yet a lost bag. This is a bag that failed to make its flight, was sent to the wrong destination, or was delayed somewhere in the transfer process. Mishandling is far more common than permanent loss, and the overwhelming majority of mishandled bags are recovered and reunited with their owners within 48 hours. How does it happen in the first place? The most common cause is a tight connection. Your first flight lands late. You have 40 minutes to connect. The airline gets you on the next flight, but your bag is still sitting on the tarmac of the previous aircraft. It physically could not make the transfer in time. So it gets offloaded, tagged for the next available flight to your destination, and placed into a holding system at the origin airport. You land. Your bag does not, but it is not lost. It is simply behind you. The second most common cause is a tagging or scanning failure. Every bag in the system depends entirely on its barcode tag for identification. If that tag is torn, smudged, or attached incorrectly, scanners may fail to read it at a critical junction. In most modern airports, secondary camera systems and software will attempt to recover the data. But if the tag is too damaged, the bag gets diverted to a manual handling zone. There, staff attempt to identify it by opening it and checking for any documentation inside. A passport copy, a booking confirmation, a luggage tag with a name. If they find something, they trace the bag back to its owner and reroute it. If they find nothing, the bag moves to the next stage. Stage 2 is the unclaimed bag system. Every major airport has one. Bags that cannot be immediately identified or matched to a passenger are held in a secure storage area. Airlines are legally required to make reasonable efforts to locate the owner. They cross-reference the physical description of the bag with recent reports of missing luggage. They search their internal databases for bags that were flagged as undelivered on recent flights. They check for any identifying tags or documentation inside. This process can take days, in some cases weeks. If the bag is recovered and matched to a passenger during this stage, it is delivered. Usually to their home address, usually with an apology and a small compensation voucher. But what happens when it cannot be matched? After a certain period, typically around 90 days depending on the airline and country, a bag that has not been claimed and cannot be identified moves to a third and final stage. And this is where most people have no idea what actually happens. The airline is no longer legally obligated to hold it. The bag now has two possible futures. It is either auctioned or liquidated. In the United States, there is an entire industry built around this process. Unclaimed luggage from airlines is sold in bulk to specialist companies. The most well-known example is a store in Scottsboro, Alabama, called the Unclaimed Baggage Center. This is a real permanent retail store that has operated since 1970. It receives thousands of items every single week from airlines across the country: clothing, electronics, jewelry, books, musical instruments, sporting equipment. Everything that was inside bags that nobody ever claimed. The store processes each item, cleans it, prices it, and puts it on the shelf for sale. Some items are extraordinary. Over the decades, the store has received items including a full suit of armor, a working camera from a NASA space mission, rare antiques, valuable jewelry, and even a live rattlesnake found inside a bag during processing. Most items, however, are ordinary. Clothes, toiletries, chargers, books, the everyday contents of a bag packed for a trip that never completed its journey. Outside the United States, the process varies by country and by airline. Some airlines donate unclaimed clothing to charities. Some auction bag contents through third-party liquidators. Some destroy items that cannot be sold or donated. The exact process depends on local regulations and airline policy. But here is something important to understand. The items inside a bag are only part of the story. The bags themselves, the suitcases, are a separate category. Unclaimed luggage cases are often sold in bulk lots to resellers, who clean and resell them through online marketplaces. That secondhand suitcase you found at a good price may have passed through the unclaimed baggage system before it reached you. Now, what about bags that are not just delayed or unclaimed, but genuinely stolen? This is a smaller but real category. Theft in the baggage system does occur. It can happen at multiple points in the journey: at the check-in belt, in the sorting area, during loading and unloading on the tarmac, at the baggage carousel itself, where an opportunistic passenger takes a bag that is not theirs. Airport security systems are designed to minimize this risk. Surveillance cameras cover most of the baggage handling areas. Access to the sorting and loading zones is restricted to credentialed staff. Random audits are conducted on ground crew, but no system is completely immune. When theft is suspected, airlines and airports initiate an investigation. Surveillance footage is reviewed. Ground crew schedules are cross-referenced with the timeline of the missing bag. In cases where theft is confirmed, it typically results in criminal charges and termination of employment. Airlines also carry insurance for lost or stolen items, and passengers can file claims for compensation up to certain legal limits. Which brings us to something passengers rarely think about before they travel: what you are legally entitled to if your bag goes missing. Under international aviation law, specifically the Montreal Convention, airlines are liable for lost, delayed, or damaged baggage up to a defined compensation limit. As of recent updates, that limit sits at approximately 1,300 special drawing rights, which translates to roughly 1,700 US dollars depending on exchange rates. This is the maximum an airline is legally required to pay you for a lost bag and its contents under standard conditions. If you are carrying items worth more than that limit, electronics, jewelry, camera equipment, important documents, you are not automatically covered for the full value. To protect high-value items, passengers can declare excess value at check-in for an additional fee, or purchase separate travel insurance that covers baggage loss. Most passengers do neither, and most passengers never need to. But the ones who do need it and do not have it face a frustrating reality. The airline pays the legal limit, and everything above that is simply gone. There are also practical steps that significantly reduce the risk of your bag being mishandled in the first place. Removing old airline tags from previous trips is one of the most overlooked. A bag with multiple barcodes attached to it creates confusion for automated scanners. A scanner may read the wrong tag and route the bag incorrectly. Removing every old tag before each trip eliminates this risk entirely. Placing identification inside the bag, not just on the outside tag, is another layer of protection. If the exterior tag is lost or destroyed, internal documentation allows airport staff to identify the bag and trace it back to you. A simple card with your name, phone number, email, and destination address is enough. Distinctive luggage also helps. Black suitcases are by far the most common color in the baggage system. A bag with a unique color, a distinctive strap, or an identifiable tag is faster to locate and harder to accidentally take by another passenger at the carousel. And finally, travel insurance. Not just for the bag itself, but for the inconvenience of delayed baggage. Most travel insurance policies include compensation for essential items purchased when a bag is delayed beyond a certain number of hours. Clothes, toiletries, medication. The costs that add up quickly when your luggage does not arrive with you. The reality of lost luggage is this: the system is far more reliable than most people assume. The vast majority of bags that go missing are recovered within 2 days. The ones that are not recovered enter a structured process of identification, storage, and eventually liquidation. Nothing simply vanishes without a trace. There is always a process. There is always a next step. But behind every unclaimed bag in that store in Alabama, behind every bulk auction lot of suitcases sold to resellers, there is a passenger who packed their belongings, handed them over at a check-in counter, and never saw them again. And most of them never found out exactly what happened. Now they know.